Hey guys, Ken Smith Fishing. I was gonna post the next part of my interview with John from Texas Park and Wildlife, the invasive species specialist. But there's something too good I gotta share with you guys about what's going on in Florida right now with the Bass Pro Tour. I think that, no, that's not the Bass Pro Tour. With the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, I think is what they call themselves. But before we go there, so a lot of you guys know there is a new Garmin forward imaging transducer, the LVS34, coming out. I think the drop date's supposed to be the 25th, so 10 days from the day you guys are watching this. I reached out to my buddies at Jones Trolling Motor and I said, do I need to spend another $1,200? And he just started laughing. He said, man, based upon the peak we've got, he said it's 30, they're claiming 35%, 40% sharper image. It uses that new update. If any of you guys have done the software update and you see that different screen or palette or whatever, it's different, it's better. They're seeing stuff out at 120 feet. He said, you're gonna wanna do it. Now, the advantage with Jones Trolling Motor is they'll take my old transducer on trade. But he did, and I'm gonna mess this up, but I wanna put this out there so you guys can do your own homework on this. He said that if you are a single unit, I believe what he said is some of the single units are not gonna work with this new transducer. You're going to have the black box, the brain. If you're already brained up, networked with multiple units, I think it's plug and go with the new transducer. But you need to check on that. And I say that because he told me, I think he told me they have 75 setups coming in and then some loose transducers as well. And he said, we're not gonna run out of them. I don't know if that's the case or not. I think there's gonna be tremendous demand, especially once some of us get a hold of these. I'll get a video up as soon as I get a hold of this and show y'all what I'm seeing. But we've all seen this spring. If you're not live scoping, what active target, if you're not using one of those units looking forward, you're getting your butt kicked. Especially, well, you're just getting your butt kicked. So there's a phone number for the guys at Jones if you want to check on it, check it out. I've already got my name attached to one of the ones coming in. So if they've got 75 coming, there's 74 left available. And I suspect Michael and Taylor will both take 2 as well. So it'll be down to 72. So anyway, just want to share that with you. Again, you guys know I like the guys at Jones Trolling Motor, but get it wherever you want to get it. But if you do get it from them, tell them Ken sent you. That helps. Okay, so there's 4 Texans who made the top 50 cut. So if you hadn't been paying attention, the tour event in Florida is funky because the Red Crest is on Grand week after next. So they kind of screwed with the schedule a little bit. Normally those events go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess Thursday through Sunday. Well, this one started on Sunday. Everybody fished Sunday and today. They cut to 50 for tomorrow, and then they cut to 10 for the final day, which will be Wednesday of this week. So it's live streaming online if you're not watching it. But what I wanted to point out was we got, I believe, 4 Texans who made the cut, which is pretty salty because I don't think there's 10 Texans fishing the tournament. I may be wrong, but a bunch of our Texans made the cut. So kind of from the bottom, Dakota sort of squeaked in, Dakota Abear. Tommy Dickerson made the cut. Dickey's sitting in 13th, about 5.5 pounds out of first. And then Jason Reyes is sitting in 3rd place, only a couple of pounds. How far out is Jason? Jason has 35.10 and the leader has 38 even. So he is 2 pounds and 6 ounces out, which is nothing over there. That leader had 22 pounds today, and Jason's called 18 and 17. So he's been very consistent. So kind of looking at those top couple of guys, that kid leading is a rookie, so he ain't sleeping a lot tonight. Now, Kerry Miller in 2nd place is a hammer out of Arkansas. That guy won the All-American. He's had a bunch of wins. And by the way I kind of judge guys to see how competitive they are, this is just my rule of thumb, is I look at their total number of tournaments divided by top 10s. And to me, I think you need to have a top 10 at least every 7 or 8 tournaments, unless you're on your own pond every single time and that's all you do. But if you fish the circuits, that tells me you're a very competitive fisherman. And now that first kid, he's only fished 10 events and he's had 35 events and he's had 10 top 10s. So that's pretty salty, one every 3.5. Milner is about every 5. Jason is about every 8. And you drop down, Dickie Newberry is one of the few. So 237 events fished, and he finishes in the top 10, better than one of every 4. By the way, your old friend Ken Smith's about one of every 6. So those guys are all salty up there. I didn't realize that kid at the top was that consistent, but some of that obviously is college fishing. But nonetheless, we'll be cheering our buddy Jason and Dickie on, because I think they're the 2 guys that had a legit shot to win. But what I want to share with you guys is something that happened in the early 90s, I believe. And I've said this story before, but it's worth repeating for those of you who have forgotten it or have never heard it. So I was running brown dog guide service for my first old Labrador Retriever, Chocolate Lab, Magpie. And back then, as is still the case in many tournaments, you could not fish tournaments on that lake if you were a guide. And I had not gotten to fish a tournament in a long time on Richland Chambers. It was a post-spawn tournament, and a red man came to town, which was the precursor of the BFLs. And I drew out with Jason Reyes. So Jason's 10 years younger than me, so I was I think it probably would have been about 91. So I'd have been 29, maybe 30 years old, somewhere right in there. So Jason was a teenager, I think. And we ran to my first spot, and I had found these fish. They were setting up post-spawn. They had gone up on the bank and spawned, and there were tons and tons of fence rows in Chambers. And they had worked their way back out down the fence rows. And they were on the last pole or 2 on the fence rows. And if you could find one that had a metal section where it had either crossbars or a support beam between those on that end one, which many of these did, or a gate or a cattle guard, there was liable to be a big fish on it. And so I ran down on the other side of Grape Creek, pulled up on my first one, fired up there, and I think first cast caught a 4-pounder, made 4 or 5 more casts and said, let's go. Because I mean, I had 40 of them to run that day. And I was going to hurt Jason, I got to be honest, because there was no way I was going to let him make your first cast on any of those. And it was a draw tournament. And I ran, going to my second one, I ran across the field, and I had to idle through Grape Creek, the creek proper, which, had great big trees in it. And I was in a hurry. And I mean, we're not 20 minutes into the morning. And I idled up on a tree, and I went to goose it to get off that tree. And when I did, I got on another tree. So now I really goosed it. And when I did, that boat rolled up, some old skeeter, and fell into a tree, port side down. And when I tell you I broke the trolling motor off the front of my boat, I didn't break the trolling motor. I broke the bracket. There was a hole in the fiberglass where that front 2 cleats were mounted. This is back before they really reinforced those things, because we weren't running, 101-pound trolling motors back then. And I just shattered the front of that skeeter. And I'm like, oh crap. So I idled over, and I'm like, I got 5 rolls of duct tape and a bunch of wood screws. I can fix this. Well, so I've always said duct tape will fix anything except a bad marriage. It wouldn't fix this either. So I screwed around with it for a long time. It had even bent the bolts when it had broken it out. I tried to figure out if there was a way I could remount it further back, and there was just no way to do it. So I took the trolling motor, finally got the trolling motor off, and this took me 45 minutes. Threw it in the floorboard, and knowing me, I was probably cussing a storm, and Jason looked at me, and he's back there. I told him, I had pulled up on a hump, and I said, just Carolina rig, no telling what you'll catch out here while I see if I can figure this out. So I get the trolling motor, I throw it on the floor, go back and open the live, I'll get my 4-pounder out, throw it back in the lake. Jason looks at me and he goes, I guess we're done. And I said, no. I said, we're not done. I said, I'm done. I said, you're going fishing. And he's like, do what? And I said, you're going fishing. I said, put your life jacket on. Cheers, by the way. And so I got my butt seat out, put it on the front deck, and we just started running these fence rows. And I'd pull up on it with the big motor ran all day long. He'd jump up on the front deck with his life jacket on, fire that spinnerbait up there, catch one, I'd net it, I'd cull for him, and we did that all day. And at the end of the day, I'm almost certain he won this tournament. My memory's not that good, but I'm almost certain he won it. But at the end of the day, we pulled up on, I had one fence row right there by Midway. And I said, this one's a good one. I said, it's got a crossbar on that metal section. And I said, and there's a telephone pole, old telephone pole on the end of it. And I said, but that fish will be set up on that crossbar, throw all the way past that second pole and pull it down through there. And he made his cast, and I can't remember what happened, but he short casted. I said, pull it out of there. And he snatched it back out of there and he reeled it up. He fired it back down the side of the thing. 6-pounder. Put it in the boat. This time he's culling because we are done. There's 3 minutes to get to the weigh-in. We run over to Midway, which is not there anymore. Pulled it up on the bank, and guys are kind of gawking because, I mean, there's a hole where there's supposed to be a trolling motor. Jason starts piling them fish out, put them in his bag. He goes up and weighs them. And he did an amazing job for me that day because I was running the guide service. And he just said basically what had just happened and what kind of fish I was on and the fact that we had caught all those fish with the big motor running. But what he did next was even cooler. And this, for those of you guys who don't remember this, I won Toledo Bend BFL a couple years ago with River Lee, and we drew out boater on boater. River had a 4-pounder in a live well, and I turned to him, and that was the big fish in the boat. And I said, you know, we ought to just agree to split whatever we win today. And he stuck his hand out. And I went on to catch a 6 and an 8 and win that tournament, and we split it exactly as we agreed to. And that all comes from this with Jason. So at the end of the day, he walks over, shakes my hand, and he hands me what I thought was gas money. It was just money, you know, kind of how you fold it in quarters, and he hands it to me. And I feel off, and I think, well, that's too much money. And I open it up, and it's $100 bills. And I'm like, man, what's this? And he goes, he says, that's part of your half. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, I know what happened today. He goes, we team fished. He goes, I'll get you the other half of that, your share of it next time I see you. And I said, man, you don't have to do that. He said, I don't know. I know I don't have to do that. But he didn't say it. That's the kind of guy he is. And it was more than a year later. We didn't run in the same circles, and I stayed up here. I didn't go down to South Texas. He's for Rayburn Toledo. He's from Huffman. More than a year later, I see Jason at a tournament, and he seeks me out. Walks over to me, opens his wallet, and back stuffed in the little hidey hole in his wallet, he pulls out more $100 bills. He goes, there's the rest of what I owe you. I've lost 2 of my best friends that I fished with, Bill Johnson and Blake Balch. Dickie is my best friend today. We still talk every day. I didn't talk to him today only because I know he's busy. Sorry, I had a battery die on me, guys. But anyway, what I was going to say is I just so much enjoy doing this and making the friends I've made over the years. They've been lifelong friends. I will tell you, I lost a friend over a fishing spot many years ago, and it's one of my greatest regrets from my fishing time. It was stupid. It was childish on my part. We kind of made up, but we've never been friends like we were back then. And it won't ever happen again. And just kind of keep that in mind, guys. The friends we make doing this are true friends, and there should be nothing to go between you. And I just kind of want to tell you guys that great story about Jason and cheer on my buddies, all 4 of them. I hope they all do great this week. And hope at least those top 2 can get into the top 10. Jason stay in the top 10 and Dickie sneak up. He just needs a good bite. He's catching his fish. I guess I can say this because nobody's watching this going to be fishing that tournament. He's catching his fish on a chatterbait and on a Zoom speed worm, just reeling it real slow over that little shallow grass and junk in the bottom. And he caught them really good one day of practice. Those fish have still not bit, I don't believe. He said they got blown out that first day, and I get a sense from what he caught today they didn't bite again because he had an 8 and another big one in practice. So if those fish will bite, if that water's cleared up for him, the wind laid a little bit today, if those fish will clear up, or that water will clear up, he can catch those fish. He can jump up there and be a threat to win this thing, 6 pounds out of it. So this ought to be fun to watch. And again, we get back to Rayburn this weekend. We'll get some video up for you guys. So thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. Hope you, at least if you didn't enjoy it, don't mind my little trip down memory lane here. I've enjoyed sharing this with you guys. So we'll see y'all again Thursday with part 4 or 5 of our conversation with John, and then we'll have fishing up and hopefully a boat review up next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in.